Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Orphan Black, Season 4, Episode 4, From Instinct to Rational Thought. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Orphan Black, so I'll have to give a spoiler warning for Orphan Black up to Season 4, Episode 4. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So this episode was pretty interesting. Definitely improvement on last week's episode, and it shows the show can still be interesting. So let's start with the Allison storyline. As well, she's out having some coffee with a friend. She gets accosted by the pregnant neo-illusionist we saw in the Beth episode that Sarah was looking for, who mistakes Allison for Beth. She's complaining that she's looking into the neo-illusionist club, obviously referring to what Sarah did, and also snooping around at a fertility clinic. So once she tells Sarah about this, she sends her on a mission to investigate this clinic. So this scene happens so fast to begin with, I didn't really catch at first what the deal with the clinic was, but apparently they're trying to suggest that it was Beth that investigated this clinic, because at first I thought they were talking about the dental clinic that Sarah investigated, since the club was obviously referring to what Sarah did, but instead apparently they want us to believe that she was referring to Beth, who had been dead for the past 6 months. Seems odd to me she would lump something that happened yesterday with something that happened 6 months ago, but whatever. Anyway, Sarah sends Felix to help, and of course Donnie is there too. And so Allison makes plans and schematics of the clinic and has name badges for them to go in posing as a couple. But when Donnie asks where her name badge is, she points out she can't go in because Beth has already been in, so she'd be recognized as her. So Donnie, being completely in character, is really dense and doesn't realize that he and Felix are the ones who will be posing as a couple. So I get a bit tired of these Donnie being stupid comedic scenes. It's becoming a bit cliched. However, I did find these scenes very funny. At first, Donnie was, acting overtly stereotypically gay until Phoenix told him to cut it out, which is actually kind of funny, and it shows how naive Donnie is. But Felix was being a bit of a hypocrite here because, he acts stereotypically gay all the time, but whatever. I did find these scenes funny, but Donnie's masturbation scene where he had to have Allison sexy talk him on the phone wasn't really funny. And in general, masturbation scenes are always uncomfortable to watch, and I find that I kind of wanted to skip this one as it was a bit too long, and it just went on for too long, but whatever. Anyway, conveniently, Donnie spotted one of Allison's friends in the clinic, so Allison was able to milk her for information about the clinic, which was all too convenient. But anyway, Donnie and Felix use this conveniently acquired information to go to the right doctor and get more information on the special fertility method, which Felix takes to Cosima, but more on that later on. Next, let me touch on Helena, where we get a scene with Donnie telling her to take it easy around Allison because she's a bit jealous because Allison can't have kids. But apparently this drives Helena to decide to leave the Hendrixes, as we get a scene of her slipping out where no one was around and saying goodbye. So I wonder where they're going to go with her. I hope they don't do anything stupid with her. It kind of makes me, makes sense because Sarah is pretty much been ignoring her. I know she's been preoccupied with dealing with the bug in her cheek, but Helena doesn't know that. I'm a bit worried about where they'll go with her storyline because it could easily end up being something really dumb, but I hope not. But we'll see. So we also get some more boring scenes with Rachel, and I don't have much to say about them, of course. Mainly dealing with the young clone Charlotte who is dying, and Rachel discussing with Susan Duncan, while at the same time trying to get Charlotte to slip out more messages to Ferdinand. But she gets caught, and Susan, not pleased, is preparing to move, which will make it much harder for Ferdinand to find her. So we also get a couple of scenes with Cosima and Scott studying the slug thingy that's in Dr. Leakey's corpse, which is a bunch of like science jargon scenes, but eventually it leads to Cosima discovering that the slug was changing his DNA somehow, and then Cosima gets the package that Felix got from the fertility clinic, and they watch a DVD and they see the woman whom we saw in the first episode of the season as being a colleague of Dr. Leakey in the neo-Leationist movement, talking about a new technology guaranteed to get one pregnant. So it's pretty obvious to me that the slug thingy that changed Sarah's DNA is what allowed her to give birth, which means Helena probably has one too, which is what separates them from the rest of the clones. But I could be wrong, but it seems like they're very strongly leading us to this conclusion. So finally, let me get to the Sarah storyline, which begins with her trying to make a deal with Ferdinand to help remove the slug from her cheek. He agrees to help, but only if she can locate Rachel for him, which he assumes she can do because of the source she has, whom was able to warn her of danger, obviously referring to MK. So Sarah agrees to it, but only if she goes to her source alone. So she goes back to that guy that she met at the club, Dizzy, who put her in touch with MK, who is being stereotypically paranoid and only communicates over a computer, and she remains cautious but agrees to help Sarah. So Sarah gives her the message from Rachel in hopes that she can trace it. But instead, MK uses the information to find out who Sarah's source is and discovered it's Ferdinand, whom apparently is the man who killed her best friend, another clone of her named Nikki, that we're just conveniently hearing about in this episode, but whatever. So when Sarah goes to meet MK to get the information from her, she doesn't show up, and instead calls her and says the deal is off, which pisses her off. So she goes back to Dizzy and asks for help to track down MK. So they track her down to where she lives, but she's not there, but they go through her computer to find out her secret, and then they find out what she's up to, which was to lure Ferdinand into a trap where he sits on a chair that's rigged with a bomb, and then douses him with gasoline, threatens to set him on fire. Sarah shows up and tries to stop her, but she doesn't listen. Instead, Ferdinand transfers all the money that he has, $3.2 million to her, and so that she won't kill him. And then she just leaves. So Sarah gets Siobhan to come over and disarms the bomb. So I thought it made absolutely no sense that MK would let Ferdinand live, especially after he just threatened to kill her. But whatever, plot convenience. So I found this storyline interesting enough, but the fact that Sarah is just becoming completely freaked out and obsessed over removing this slug thing at all costs, well, it makes perfect sense for her character, but it also makes her an uninteresting character, and I kind of didn't buy how Dizzy was so willing to help her. I was a bit more interested in MK, and I hope to see her again, but we'll see. So my rating for From Instinct to Rational Control out of 10 is an 8, extremely good. A big improvement from last week's episode, but still not without its flaws. However, I thought the scenes with Donnie and Allison were funny, and the scenes with MK and Sarah were intense, but overall this episode makes me very curious and invested to find out what happens next, and I think that is a very good thing. So, it could be interesting, the directions that they decide to go in. So that's it for my review of From Instinct to Rational Control. Be sure to check out my channel each week as I continue to review episodes of Orphan Black, and also I do many other videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Fear the Walking Dead, and more, so make sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. Thanks a lot for watching.